Hey guys, welcome to the Eagle Farm preview, and it's a fat card, stack of runners, stack of work to be done, Nick. But there's 10 winners to find, but I think so.
Yeah, let's just hope we get a fair track this week, Gord. We got the Doomben, and I think we sort of half predicted last week. But when you have 3 meetings in 10 days on wet tracks, and you go 10 meters, 4 meters, 1 meter, you really are asking for there to be a fast lane on the inside. And I think when we did it after the race, I put it in the chat that 30 place getters in 10 races and 26, I think it was, travelled on the fence in the run.
So yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
You know, so I mean, you could make a bit of ground, but you needed to stay inside 5 in the straight. So it made it for a pretty tricky day, and probably the one that we're all really keen on abounding. It probably ruined any chance it had to.
Yeah.
Out. But
well, the market didn't really cotton on because it was truckloaded, wasn't it? But
look, I think, and Martin Harley's copped a bit of stick for the ride, but I think when you watch it, he really was a victim of the Waterhouse horse just falling back in his lap, and he had no choice. He had to go outside, and then, I mean, he's just got beaten, was really in a slow lane. But, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes it works in your favour and sometimes it doesn't.
The good thing about a meeting like last week is it's really good to review it. Because,
yeah, absolutely.
You can find some really hidden runs. I'm a half glass full kind of a guy, Nick. So, you know.
Well, I think we found 5 seconds on the day. We had a day, but I mean, you're not going to win every week. So, you know, you just look at it as a meeting that we learn from. And like you said, there's certainly some hidden form in there for sure.
Yeah. By the way, it did make it very easy to back acquitted later on, but didn't it, with the inside draw there?
I sort of half got that wrong. Sort of half head fucks me, the Lee's stable. I see his horses and some of them don't parade well. And this one paraded well and was in really good, like, big condition on it, which is not always the way for his. But, I thought it had improvement left in it. So, I thought it'll win again for sure. And the way that it mapped in the run, it was like, it was out. It was going to win a long way from that.
Yes, it was. It was. Yeah. Okay, we're at Eagle Farm in the rail true position, and they put 42 mils of irrigation on in the last 7 days, but I see hot weather.
Yeah, it's been hot. Yeah. I think I put more on yet. We're only Thursday Arvo now. I reckon they've got more to go on yet, which might mean it's a little bit giving early on, which I'm sort of hoping it is. I think they're going to be wary that it'll dry out during the day as well. We've had, typical Queensland this time of year, it's starting to get pretty hot. So this will have a really good cover of grass on it. We haven't been there for quite a while now. So I'm expecting it to be pretty fair good.
And, beautiful one day perfect and next. I thought you were going to throw out an old cliche there and rub it into the southern states, Nick.
Well, I would, but I don't like it. I hate the
bloody Okay, race 1, 2,400 metres. So I think Trent's very happy that he's having the evening off because, you know, he is the race 1 expert, but he doesn't like 2,400 metres. So It's up to you and I, Nick. Could you line these up?
Well, it looks obvious to me, Gord. I mean, some races you do, and you go back and forwards, and you see a favourite at $1.80, $1.90, and you go, okay, what can I oppose it with? And there's just nothing there. I mean, I couldn't find anything. I mean, classic deal down the bottom and second in the market. I think it's 10th run in, 11th run this prep, and it won a midweek at Doomben for its first win this prep, and fair play to it. But I got it a fair way below the favourite Coretta. I always get that pronunciation wrong. And the other one in the market, I Am the Empire, well, it beat it easily last start, and it's got a habit of pulling in the run. It just doesn't seem to want to settle. And 2,400, I think, is a bit of a risk for it, where I think the other one's going to eat 2,400. The only query is perhaps its soft form is a little bit better. It's only had the 1 win on the good, but its last run on a good track up here was a good run. So that I don't really see that as a problem. And I'm suspecting there'll be a little bit of water in this track early because I know it's going to be a hot day and they want it to be rock hard. So, I think for a distance race that I don't normally get too excited about, although we have had a reasonable run in them lately, I think it's close to a good thing.
Yeah, I sort of approached it very similar to yourself. And then by the time everything spat out, you have it like really into the red. Now, the thing with it being really into the red, my system with distance racing is to condense the market a little bit. So normally I don't have the shorty super short, but I just couldn't find anything else, mate. The horse is airborne. And there's nothing else against it. The map position from 3 looks fine. You've got the gun connections. Look, the only other horse that I had a slight look at was this number 9 Bedford Square. Now, this isn't my style, and I was expecting to see a lot longer odds, but I see the best available now is $9.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting that it had never got up over distance before. For a horse that has always performed its best runs around the 1,800, 2,000 metre mark, they'd never got it up to 24 before. Maybe that's a sign he could run a decent race there, and I don't mind Thornton jumping on it. So with 53.5 kg, so I was 4 from 9, but I'll probably take the shorts 4, mate. It's good to start.
I've got no problem with the price, because I sort of, when I did it, I eliminated sort of 3/4 of the field, just not up to it, and not going any good. And so yeah, I'm happy to play at that price. I mean, I don't really. It's $1.80. I don't really want to play at that price, but we'll just see what happens on the day. Often in these staying races, they do get out a bit. Someone will try something else, so I'll just wait.
Beauty. Let's move on to race 2 over the 1,300 metres, and this is a race. Well, obviously you've got a really good handle on all these horses. I didn't think there was an absolute standout. Did you? How did you handle this one?
Yeah, I sort of went back and forwards on it a few times, and then it almost got a little bit too hard, Gordon. The issue is that the favourite at the moment, I think, is the 4, Willinga Free Fall or Free Hall.
Yep.
Now it's going around tomorrow at Doomben. It's in a race tomorrow. We've got a twilight meeting at Doomben tomorrow, a Christmas meeting. We've got 7 races, and it's going around there. So I'm just, it's not going to run twice in 24 hours. Right. So it's coming out of one of them, and it's still in the race tomorrow, and it's favourite in that as well. So I just don't know where they're going to go there, and that'll change the market significantly if that's in or out. Or, but I'm a bit like you. I went back and forwards on it. I don't like backing horses that I don't think are much good, and I don't think any of these are really much good. So I'm happy to sort of let it go. I think the market is sort of indicating that they don't really know either. They're not really sure. So I'll wait and see if the 4 comes out or not, and then maybe we'll have a look at the yard on the day. But not any great confidence there at all. Good.
I couldn't get the favourite. I mean, if it does run in this race, I couldn't get it this short. No. Saying that, sort of like, when you see something like that, you really go looking hard for something else. And I thought that was a difficult proposition, but I have found one here, mate. And that is, if I think a race is really weak, I just want to back the leader. And I think number 6, You're Too Good, will lead. Now, there's $21 available at the moment for a leader with Orman on it. I thought that was an easy price to take when there's a lack of chasers. And there's nothing wrong with what it's done this preparation, mate. Had the standard 24-week spell, lovely trial winner, nice winner at the Sunshine Coast. I thought that was a decent run last start in an all right sort of like a Sunshine Coast 35K race. And, it's a horse that I've got a bit of a feel for because it is an ex-New South Wales horse and did promise a little bit earlier on in its career and was obviously slightly disappointed. But I thought third up leading, weak opposition, 20-1. It was an easy play to make. In a limited race. Look, man, I've sort of. What are you saying about Miss Tambo? I'm kind of thinking I've had my way with it this preparation, and a
bit like that. We missed on it first up. It was pretty unlucky. It did pick up a race 2 back, I think, but it's probably. I thought it was a little bit better than what it actually has turned out to be. That horse, and I just can't really. It's around the $7 mark. I mean, that's probably about its right price. But yeah, I'm not going to tip into it. I don't think. I mean, it'll parade well. It always does, and Gollins usually do. And it's one. I thought the Toppy was one that I thought had some chance by Rumble because it'll roll forward and get into a reasonable spot. I thought it was the other one, but yeah, as I said, not a lot of confidence in that at all.
Well, Bo Rumble there, is an interesting one because it's tied obviously in with You're Too Good. Off that Sunshine Coast run. So,
and I sort of see them as sort of not really Saturday horses. But
This is a Wednesday race for
it's
sure.
a midweek race. It's a no metro win sort of thing. So yeah, they're probably up to this. But no, I won't be doing much here, I don't think.
Yeah, I thought I just had a question mark on the map for Miss Tambo, as well as maybe that opinion you gave that not as good as what we previously thought. So I just couldn't get it that short. Obviously, it's a chance in this race, but
yeah, there's probably
not
6 or 7 chances.
Okay, let's move on to race 3, which will be the shortest price favourite that Saturday Metropolitan Queensland Racing has had in a fair while, I'd suggest. I can't think of one.
I'm trying to think of the last one. We might have to go back to Hootson or something like that when it was flying us a 2-year-old. Someone will tell me that I've got that wrong, and I probably have, but I can't remember. And there just looks to be no opposition, Gordo. I mean, so they've sent it up here to get the prize money, and then it'll be in the millions, magic millions, no problems. A $500,000 yearling. Did everything right in its win. The times weren't anything flash, but didn't do a lot either. It just I thought it went to the line pretty comfortably and that sort of thing. I'd imagine it's a well bet. I imagine it's going to be a nice type. I thought the only thing that had any possible ability against it was Munsters, and they've scratched that Boom Row or whatever it is. And so that just took the opposition away. So, I mean, you're up against a couple of Mishanis, a thing that ran second in Toowoomba in her first starter that, is 50. So it just looks a good thing. It's just, we'll just see how it goes. And
it is really interesting, because if I was just pricing it purely about the fact that if it wasn't just early season 2-year-old stuff, I'd have this Winks odds $1.08. But obviously I can't do that because there's too many question marks with 2-year-olds, and, what can improve, what can drop off. Maybe they get a little bit shinny or something like that, and they race, and they don't find out until after the race. Like, there's a few more question marks with the early season 2-year-olds. Saying that, I think this could win by 10 lengths if it wanted to off what it's done. So.
Look, it wouldn't surprise. I mean, there's really zero opposition.
Do you think some of the other trainers up there saw that it was in and just sort of like dodged it?
I did see the noms. I took a photo of the noms of the week. I always like to do that to see the true weights and that come out. And I don't think there was several more in, but that's not a bad question actually, because when I saw it and thought, if that comes up here, well, this is going to be well in the red. So maybe I'm just not sure why the 3 was scratched. I haven't found out. I might have missed it. But it was the only one that could have given any opposition at all, I think. But even then, I thought it was going to be well in the red, and that comes out. It's what's available,
$1.16 is the best, and
we'll probably look back on about midway through the day Saturday and say, "Gee, that was good value."
No, I know. Isn't it funny how, like, some people, Nick, they don't realise that sometimes $1.20 is value. You know what I mean? Like, it's all it's all about probability of event occurring, not the fact that it's so short. Which that horse wins a lot of times in that setup. Race 4 over the 1,000 metres, and I actually love doing this race, mate. This is the 2-year-olds yet again. What have you found here?
Well, my Betfair account is on empty after I laid what's that bloody thing that won last week? Knight's Choice. But I'll have to top it up because I'm pretty keen to oppose Barbie's sister here. I saw it at Caloundra. I know Tony Gollan's come out and said it's a spitting image of its sister, which was Outback Barbie. Which is a fair pony, which is true, it is, but it's a small, immature version of Outback Barbie. Okay. And I thought it was a risk at the Sunny Coast. We put in the chat that I thought this is a bit vulnerable. It didn't do a bad job in hindsight. Like, they ran along, and the thing that it ran along next to got almost tailed out, and this thing has just got run down on the line, and the thing that beat it was reasonable. But I don't think it's going to get an easy lead here either. The one above it, number 4, Excella, it goes quick as well. And we were on its first start at Eagle Farm, and it almost went, I think it just went too quick. A little drawn awkwardly, and he pinged it out, and then he just hunted it a bit to go the lead, and then he couldn't restrain it. The thing of Munster's Divine something ran it down right on the line. But I think it's got ability. It's not a bad style of horse either. And the one at the top, Khaleesi's got some ability. So amongst the race brigade that we know about, I thought, 215, 210 was a bit short. I think she's vulnerable, and she just doesn't look like she's she's certainly not fully furnished or developed to me yet. And I'm always happy to take those horses on, particularly early in their career, until they show they can really get through the line. And it's 1,000 metres at Eagle Farm. It's not a walk in the park.
Yeah, it's that's more a comment from a price perspective with this horse, isn't it? With it being so short, because you got a market favourite.
Yeah, look, $5, I'd be saying, no problem at all. But
tell him he's dreaming. Tell him he's dreaming.
But at 5 to 4, I've got to oppose it. Personally, I'm going to oppose it anyway, because I think the 4 has some ability. I think the 1 has some ability, and I don't.
And you've got question marks about Map as well. So there's a few little things there. Saying that, I do think that was a really good run last start. As you mentioned, like when you compare other horses on pace to this, the one that beat it did really just suck, save all ground, come up on the inside of it.
Yeah.
Saying that, to take this kind of price in this race, you'd want to think it was a bloody good run last start. The thing why I couldn't be even more against it was the jockey change, Nick, which is Angela Jones off for Ormond on. So that's what held me to have it not as short as this, but still a short price favourite. It's a horse of interest for me, but it's not the bet in the race for me. The obvious bet is this number 7 L Morzillo.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Bloody hell, that was a hidden trial, mate. Everybody out there, go and watch it. It was necked. Its head was going everywhere. Then what I love in young horses, it went up inside. And who did it go up inside? And I think if you take into consideration the restraining and what happened during the trial, the horse that went up inside of was number 1 in this race, which was having sort of like a semi-mid-prep trial in Kailisi. I thought this horse trialled better, and it might have more upside, because that Kailisi's trial there was already after having some other trials and a race start. This one might have more upside. So what price is this one? Best available right now is $11. I think that's a fantastic bet.
Look, I'm not going to be against that at all, but a word to the wise from someone I know well in Brisbane, who's a very successful punter up here, and one of his golden rules is, if you want to back Swiders off a trial, you on the fast way to Centrelink. There's been they can trial like Tarzan.
Yeah, but the thing is, they were trying to get this thing to not trial. That's my point. It was getting like necked. It was
and 2-year-olds are different. I mean, they just run. So no, I take it on board. It was a nice trial. There's no doubt about that. But
that was the easy bet for me. But I'm going to come out at least even on Barbie's sister as well, because I thought it's interesting you mentioned that about Schweder trials, but I just thought that the way it trialled, the more upside it might have, gave me the ability to sort of be slightly against second and third favourites in this race. That's the way I'm going to handle it from a betting perspective.
Parade will tell us a lot good with these.
Shit, yeah. There's a couple of horses on the program actually that are early preparation.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a good lead if they're up to that absolute peak fitness, because if they are, I think they're bloody good chances.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to pause for a second. My dogs are going mad. And Nick, race 5 over 1,400 metres for the 3-year-olds. What have you found here?
This is my first, probably my second decent bet of the day, Gord. Here, I like this race. Interesting one. I think this was the top weight Botondes. I think it was the first real sign last week that, okay, if you're on the fence here, this is a real advantage, because I was amazed when it won. I really was. I mean, I think from memory, was that the Abounding race? Anyway, it might have been, but I was just amazed that it won. It didn't parade well at all, but it found that sweet spot in front and just cruised along and got there in the end. So I'm happy to play against it. It's up 3.5 kilos, but I've got a 2-bet play here, which I like.
Yes, here we go.
And at the prices here, it's going to be easy. I mean, I think that the 3 Weagle Tiger of Sweeters this horse is low flying. And it's only had 5 starts, so it's probably still got some potential with it. So I'm always happy to be with those horses. It's drawn well at maps well, but I've got to be on the 2 Trifling as well. Been watching this horse all the way through. It was its first run, it was fatter than me. Its second run, it was it was still heavy. And it's last start, it just started to look like it was getting into race condition. It's pretty typical of the stable. They take a while to get them fit. They race. Go on.
Oh, Nick, the jockey booking there. So Rod's ridden Beau Tontes. Beau starts this preparation.
Yeah.
And now he jumps onto, he doesn't jump onto. He's also been riding Trifling as well. But you'd suggest he would have the choice, wouldn't you?
Well, I suspect so. But look, he's obviously a really nice guy, Mickey Rod, and that, but I don't sort of tick him as a jockey positive at the moment anyway.
Oh, I meant stable intent, or his decision about what he thinks is the better chance on the day.
Look, the Helen Page stable, they're never ready first up, and they take a little time to build into their prep. This horse was almost there last start, loomed to win against Black Minto. God bless Black Minto, that kept going and got us money at good prices, and they beat Golden Decade, which was the done runner that's around the $8, which was short that day. And it was a little bit wide around the turn, but I thought it had its chance. It loomed up to win and just really was, I thought it was pretty disappointing the last 200. And Trifling, I thought just run out, just hit the wall with about 100, 150 to go, but I reckon it's going to be ready tomorrow. So this is an easy 2-bet play. I mean, one's around the 220 mark, and the other's at $10. So I can easily create a book here where I'm going to have a good result. So probably my most confident race of the day.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in two horses as well. Look, clearly, Waggle Tiger's on top. My one question mark there is it's been super dominant, okay? And I love lightly race winners like this, but it's not really beaten the horse yet, has it? I mean, I suppose when you win by 5, it doesn't really matter what the other horses are, but there's just a slight question mark. And then I've got to take a short price. I mean, if you notice, I've found Graham on quite a number of runners on Saturday, and that sort of scares me a little bit because it's not a primary jockey for me up there. Not like a big negative or anything like that, just not a positive like your Ormonds, etc.
Yeah, I don't think she really needs to make many decisions from the draw. I think it lobs out and then just sits in a good spot, and in theory it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and obviously plenty of experience. She knows the horse very well because she's a stable rider for it. 3 Waggle Tiger on top for me. That's all pretty obvious. Look, I was going to give one more chance to this horse, this Victory Win, Nick, that I think we both had a bit of a feel for it, early on. And were you sort of slightly disappointed with that run last start? I kind of was.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I'm just having a look at my notes here. Yep.
But I think the fact that we could be back to bone dry might be the trick to this horse. And I was going to ask you about what kind of type it is in the yard because...
there's no knock on it there. And I think the track condition will suit. I'm just a bit... I just wonder now if it's a rung below the other two, whether it's just found. I know it's only lightly raced, it's only had the 4 starts, but I was a bit disappointed in its last run. I thought,
I'm definitely having a guess, and you look, it's always slightly scary when your 2 runs are at the same course and they're both at Sunny Coast, But I mean, because it's so lightly raced, I'm going to half forgive that.
Yeah, I can see. Look, I can see it's got some sort of hope, but in honesty, Black Minto had some little bit of improvement left off its win. So if it can just lob there and bowl along, it tries hard. I can't understand the market between it and Golden Decade. I mean, I thought it beat Golden Decade and it had more improvement to come than Golden Decade did. So I don't understand the market with those two.
So they're using the SP anchor there.
Yeah, they are, obviously. But Golden Decade was, I look back on my yard report and it was absolutely at its top.
Okay.
We wound up last time and quite wound up for a done horse. So it's certainly, I'd be amazed if it parades any better than it did last time. So I'm a little bit against it. But I've already had a bet and on the 2 and the 3. Beautiful.
Let's move on to race 6 over the 1,000 metres. And, oh, man, I hated doing this race, Nick. Can you just start off, how are we going to handle number 1, please, after cardio?
Yeah, look, he had the arrhythmia in that and got beat a long way. And I think it's about first horse beat, wasn't he? I think he dropped out in the end, but he didn't parade well either, Gord, which interested us.
Okay.
He was, because he trialled well and his jump out was good. And you thought, this bloke's going well. I think he beat Natuno easily in a jump out. and then Natuno reversed the tables on the day. You looked at him and thought, oh, geez, dull in the coat.
So Nick, just give us a little bit more information there. So the kind of parade where you're thinking maybe hasn't come up this preparation?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or not. Look, if you're dull in the coat, you're not. How do I sort of equate it to a human? Maybe not feeling that great on the day. You just look a bit flat and that sort of thing. And that's the way he paraded. Look, he's a nice style of horse. So, like all that breed are. And when he came in, he was just, okay, that was a bit disappointing. And it was a nice sunny day on the Sunshine Coast when he came in. And we know when a horse walks out, and he's a lovely chestnut horse, when they walk into the sun, normally they just glow.
Yeah.
And he just had that dullness about him, which I thought was a negative, and we were against him on the day. The map was terrible for him, and it proved that way. The map's not much better in this race either. I just don't know how. He can't get across. There's no way he'll get across and lead. Flaming Conquest, the 11 is about as quick as they come. So I think the best he can hope is he sits outside of him. And there's probably 5 or 6 potential almost leaders here. They're going to go flat out here. And we've said it plenty of times on this show, the 1,000 metres at Eagle Farm is not a good starting point. You're straight on a bend. So it's interesting. Golin's got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the race. But I was sort of looking for one that I think probably found his mark weight-wise, but I think he's a talented horse. I thought his last run was really good on the Sunny Coast, Shooting for Gold. To me, it looks the obvious one. He'll just sit off them. It doesn't even matter, particularly if you can run on the day, because they will run on here, because some of these are going to hit the wall with 150, 100 to go, and he'll be the one strong late. I think there's been good money for him, actually. I think the early price was wrong.
Yeah, there has. There's been a firm up.
Yeah, well, you can still get $5. I can't see the place price from him, but geez, on a 1x3 style of bet, I think he's a bet to nothing. I just think he's the one that's going to be really strong late. He's always the sort of horse that people go, 1,200 would be perfect for him, but it's not. He's 1,000, 1,100 metre.
Yeah, horse. I know. Isn't that weird? When they come home like that, everybody thinks up in distance, and it's not the case.
And number 12 in this race too, Ralphie's the same. He always looks like he'll get 1,200, but he just doesn't get it as well. So if it was 1,100, I'd be really confident about Shooting for Gold. But I think at the 1,000, he's the bet for me, and around $5. More than happy to play there.
Yeah, well, me, as far as Prince of Boom is concerned, I'm not a very forgiving person. And when you add that extra little piece of information, I'm going to be solidly against him now. It'd be interesting, if there's a raving review from you from the yard on Saturday, but you know what I mean? Like
that's the thing. If he's improved, I mean, but I just...
Because he is the best horse in this race.
Oh, I think that's fair. Yeah, look, he's a horse I think I've underestimated him. And I was always against him in the Winter Carnival up here. I thought, oh no, this thing will beat him. Like Red Card and that were against him. And bloody hell, he put 5 on him and just ran away from them. So yeah, he's a better horse than I thought he was initially. So the other one I thought had some hope was All That Pizzazz, because it might sit off them just behind that speed and have a nice run, and it's got some ability as well.
Oh, well, that's a nice little segue, because I've marked number 6, All That Pizzazz, favourite. So there you go. I think this is the perfect setup for this horse. I love the fact that it's getting back to 1,000 metres, and I love the fact that it's getting back to Eagle Farm. There's no problem with the 1,200 metres last start, because it's 4-week fresh and up back to 1,000. Don't have a problem with that. Look at its distance stats. Look at its 2 runs at the track. One was a beautiful win over the 1,000 metres. The other was a second over 12 to Zarastro. And then we've also you've beaten Yellow Brick as well. I mean, there's some fantastic lines here, and a nice little perfect setup, and nice map options from 9 here. I'm super interested in number 6, All That Pizzazz. Look, I think it's an open race. My second selection was Shooting to Win, and I'm scared of 1, but I just don't forgive flops last start, even if you have cardiac arrhythmia. But maybe Nick can give us a little bit more clarity 5 to 7 minutes before the race, if there has been just sort of some sort of dramatic turnaround with the horse. But I'm really happy taking 750 All That Pizzazz.
Heathcote's horses are interesting at the moment. Like, you'll get some that, like the standout almost horse in the last month that I've seen parade was Rothfire. Now, Rothfire last week has never been like a great parader in that, but he was just unbelievable.
By the way, it was a bloody good run by Rothfire last week.
Look,
yeah.
He was
when you consider the pattern and stuff like that.
The pattern and the weight, changing that. I mean,
Yeah.
he ran well. He's going to win it.
Well, I mean, we mentioned that weight change on the show, didn't we? I mean, last time they met, there was a 5 kilo turnaround. I just thought that Rossfire had too much class. He had more class to overcome that sort of weight difference, and I was wrong by obesity.
So was I, but Rothfire paraded amazingly well. And then a few races earlier, Bo Tonte's paraded like an absolute skunk and won. So a real variance in the stable at the moment. So it's
it's funny. I had a yard guy ring me the other day about this horse, and he'd gone back and he had all these notes for every time it's parade. It did a peak performance every time it paraded poorly. So it's funny how it's not just about what they look like; it's about knowing their history and how they performed with the way they paraded.
You get to know and he's 100% right. If a horse looks shitty and it always parades shitty and runs well,
and if it looks good and runs poorly, you've got a lovely little pattern there, don't you? So,
you do. I mean, they're all individuals. They're not robots. Some are going to look different than others. You see plenty of NRL players over the years. Some of them just sweat. Like Mal Meninga used to take the jersey off covered in sweat before they'd even started a game. Didn't seem to affect him.
No. And what about the fact that a lot of them have little bellies these days? You don't need a six-pack to be a good footy player these days. It's just about core strength and power in your bum and your legs, not...
How bad are those tight jerseys? Jeez, I'd have killed
Well, you've got to wear one because there's less chance of them grabbing onto you,
No, it's not flattering, though, for some of the big boys.
Okay, race 7 over 1,300 metres, and I found this very difficult, mate. How did you handle it?
No, I quite like the race.
Okay.
It's the horse that I've sort of followed this time through. I think she's super brave. I always say she. I think it's actually... she is a mare. Extremist.
I hope it's a she because it's a fillies and mares race, Nick.
Of course. What am I looking at? Yeah, it's ideal that she's a mare in this fillies and mares race, but she's super brave. This one, she doesn't parade. She's another one that don't worry about a parade. If she looks hot and messy and all that sort of thing, don't worry about it.
Who's that?
Extremist. She runs. That's a Heathcote horse, so can't knock her on a parade. And look, the query for me, her is the 1,300. The last 100 could be an issue, but I think she gets across here from the draw. I think she just take her time, work across, and it's not a whole lot of opposition to her leading, I don't think. I think on the map I've got, perhaps, I think she could lead quite comfortably here, and I can see if she leads quite comfortably that the 200, they're a couple of lengths off her, and see if you're good enough to get her because she's brave. She tries really hard. But the one that's had huge improvement off the yard, which sometimes worries me second up, is the 3 Better Get Set. It was fat first up and ran really well. And it got past Extremist late in that race. We did have a lovely suck run behind it. And I'm always a little bit nervous about horses that are big in condition first up and then second up. Sometimes they just have a flat run and then really get going. But it's had a little bit of time between it. So I thought these two were clearly on top for me, and that's another chance you can back to quite comfortably for a good result.
Well, you've not given me the information I was wanting there,
because
the thought process I had was I'm going to decide between 2 and 3. If I do bet in the race, because I mean they're taking up a fair chunk of percentage, aren't they? They're taking up 60% or something like that. Now I just thought I need a way to define which one I want to back, and I thought I'll definitely find Extremist unless Nick tells me that Better Get Set had improvement from the yard. Well, that's exactly what you said.
Yeah,
so
it had lengths of improvement.
I mean, how am I going to line it up? Like Extremist is super exposed, looks to get a really good map, but Better Get Set did finish in front of it, and now you've told me had a lot of improvement from the yard. So look, I'm not sure which way. By the way, you guys out there, don't worry about barrier 15 for Extremist. I think it's got the early toe quite comfortably to cross. I
agree. Look, I think in the review that I posted after the meeting was Better Get Set was really big in condition. I'm walking away talking to people going, geez, that was fat, but did a good job. And it's got some ability, likes the track, everything. So, yeah.
And
parades.
Yeah, the question mark about another question mark about extremists or slight one. I ended up putting extremists on top, but with like a question mark because I just didn't really know.
Yeah.
And we've got that one run over the 14 made ages ago, but it was a pretty decent race with TikTok Queen, Aaron T, and Antino, where it got beaten by 3.5 lengths. That was 1,400 metres at Eagle Farm. So maybe there's a slight amount of evidence that the 13 isn't a problem.
Yeah, look, I'm not overly concerned, but it's another one of those until they tick the box.
Yeah.
A little bit concerned, but I'm just thinking that race, that might have been, I'm wondering if that was the Gateway. Might have been this day last year.
I'll bring it up.
Queen won that and qualified for
it was Eagle Farm 10th to the 12th. Yeah, there you go. So it was, yeah.
This meeting last year when
it was the Gateway.
It was the Gateway, which we'll talk about that in a minute. The changed conditions of the Gateway, and that race contributed to it. So I don't understand why they're doing it, but they've done it. But yeah, look, that's not a real concern for me because I thought she had to work last time, and I don't think she was weak late. I think the other two were just a bit stronger at the end. Well, Zarastro was just brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. So yeah, no, I think we can make a 2-bet play there, easy Gord, depending on the price on the day and how they.
Yeah, I know. It just seems like that's getting into a fair chunk of percentage. You know, like for me, if I kind of want to decide on one, but if let's say I was going to do a 2-bet play, I'd make one break even, one profit. You know,
yeah, back one to win and save on the other.
Yeah. Race 8, the Gateway, mate. So here we go, 1,400 meters, and I really enjoyed doing this race, Nick.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, this race has now what is colloquially called the TikTok Queen / Antino clause attached to it.
Yes.
So the winning connections, not the winner, but the winning connections get a berth in the Stradbroke. Now, the Stradbroke's been around for over 100 years. Why the fuck are they messing around with it now? I don't get it. I don't think it's necessary. It's been done, I think, because TikTok Queen won this race last year and got in, and then they've all gone, oh, we wanted Antino in. But, you know, it's ownership based. It's not even trainer based. It's owners based. So a friend of mine was telling me yesterday, goes, once people work this all out, you watch Godolphin send 3 or 4 up for this race every year, and they'll win it, and then they'll get a lightly raced 3-year-old with no weight into the Stratty and giddy up. It's a great setup for someone who works it out. But Golin's got 7 runners here, so he's got it.
He's having a crack.
He's having a crack. I mean, look, disclosure, a good friend of mine is one of the owners, and a couple of big punters are owners in number 10, John Rambo. It's a bit of a throw at the stumps for him, but he's one that they've always had an opinion of.
Well, you backed it last start, didn't you?
Yes,
in the midweek.
That was a pretty easy one. But I can't entertain. I think they put up $17 and he's into $9. I think that's rock bottom. He's going to get a nice run and he's got some potential, but there's a few horses here that are clearly ahead of him at the moment. And the way this is set up with the set weights, he's not in particularly well. The ones that are in really well on the set weights are number 1, the Vowels, and number 13, the Katarina. I mean, they're both really well in the race. Problem with the Katarina is she's not drawn well and got a good handle on her. She either parades well and runs really well, or she parades less than well and runs accordingly. So I think I've got a good handle on her. Her 2 wins this time in were off pretty well perfect runs, and when things haven't gone well, she hasn't run well. So I don't know how she gets a really good run here. The Vowels interests me, and now he's around the $12 mark. He's got some ability, this horse. He ran well here during the carnival last year. He was big first up, big second up. Started to look more like a racehorse last run in. I think that was the Zarastro race from memory again. Yeah, it was, and he just through the line. It was the first time he'd showed anything this campaign. Thought, he's getting through the line well now, and he's got the ability. He's well in. The 57, I give him a good chance. But the one that really there's 2 that really interest me, sort of waffling a bit here, but I think it's a race where you can probably back 3 or 4 with the prices that they're putting out there. Freedom Rally did not parade well at the Sunshine Coast at all. Put in the report, and it ran second It's always a horse that's paraded well. I think it's a really talented horse. I think it's got a good race in it. But didn't parade well first up on the Sunshine Coast, and it still ran second, but it was never ever a winning hope. The issue for me was how it ran down the straight. It was all over the place, and it went across the line with its head on the side. Just did a lot of things. I thought, is this horse comfortable? Is it sore, or what's going on? I hate seeing a bad head carriage, and it had that. But if it parades well and it looks like the Freedom Row that I know, then it's super hard to beat here. I think it's clearly the best horse. And the other one is number 11, Deer Trail, who paraded really big up the coast and ran well. I thought, oh, this is, it's well above itself in condition. It's had 3 weeks now, I think, between that run. I know Tony Gollan, they've obviously got some opinion of it because they've run it in some decent races. It's a really well-bred horse. I'll be certainly keen to see how it parades because I think it's around the $23 mark now you can get, or maybe even more. If it parades well, it had lengths of improvement, and it's going to get a lovely run from there. So there's a lot of chances in the race, I can see, but I think, look, you got the Vowels at $12, you've got Deer Trail at $23, and you've got Freedom Rally at $3. You can certainly make a market there. So they're the ones I'm interested in, but the chances probably don't end there.
Yeah, well, I'm, as I say, super keen on this race. I think Freedom Rally is close to a moral. There'll be no problem with the parade on Saturday with the 3 weeks off. I think people are being too harsh on the horse because they expected it to win last start. The face got all favours there and has come out and actually franked that form last Saturday, being a super dominant winner yet again. And there's two massive secrets here, and that is it gets to the 1400 and it gets back to Eagle Farm, its home track. I think they're massive positives here. If it's anywhere near as good as I think it might be, and I've found plenty of reasons to excuse it coming second, and Nick's now found an extra one for me. I think it'll be too good for them. So I'm going to have a really good go at number 5, Freedom Rally. And the other horse I'm going to back each way is this lightly raced one down the bottom here that I came home beautifully last start, and it's number 11, Deer Trail. Depending actually,
mate, I thought I saw a facial expression when I mentioned.
It was actually weird because obviously you have to watch that race a number of times because you got to watch multiple runners in the race, and I only like to watch one runner at a time.
Yeah.
So when I was first looking at the first horse that I watched, I was watching Hell of a Barty. Yes. And then, out of the sort of the side of my eye, I was like, Jesus, what's that red-coloured horse there going down the outside? And then, went back and watched it again when I was doing this race and thought, Jesus, that's the run of a horse that's come back well. It's still lightly raced. Gollan coming home, do no work from barrier 3, $26 available. I'm going to back 5 Freedom Rally straight out and 11 Deer Trail each way, and I'm quite comfy with those bets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to race 9 over the 1200 meters, and help, please.
No, can't. Sorry. Starting to get into the race. The last two I thought were really tough. Went through this race, and it's almost. I came back to. And it's not a horse that I've ever really loved. It's a temperamental, moody thing, but it certainly has some talent in Hell of a Barty, but it was almost by default because I couldn't find anything. I just kept saying no with the others. Go Wanji, we well documented its issues. It's had 2 throat operations. It was super first up, did a really good job, but it hasn't drawn well. Not overly in love with the jock, and it's still got to carry 60.5. It's just I couldn't. Renouf is a horse with ability, but it normally takes a few to come to hand. The others aren't going very well. Titanium, look, one day things will work out for Titanium. It'll miss the kick, but one day it'll just get the run up and run over the top of them, and it'll parade well. And it's one that I concede has a chance. It's an awful race, really. Stroll has a chance on its first up run, but I came back to Hell of a Barty by default because I think there's so many negatives with the others, but it's pretty low confidence for me, Gord, this one.
Yeah, it was actually, we sort of did it a similar way, but I've ended up getting strong on Hell of Barty.
Mm-hmm.
My first position was, okay, this is pretty neutral. Let's go and find the dangers. This is before I did videos, and I was just doing the data and the form lines and stuff like that. And then I went and watched that race last start, and I just have to give a tick to horses that are drawn wider and the jockey shows no intent, like it jumps well and then they restrain. Now, they restrained it and ended up getting into an all right position. But, to not take advantage of jumping well and tagging like that just means the horse can do a lot more. It's still early preparation. I think they'll punch up from barrier one, mate. And
that's the thing in its favour. It's going to get a lovely soft run and be close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is in that price range where you are relying on a little bit of luck from that draw as well, because you're actually dictated to by those that are drawn wider. But with any luck late, I think there's a real good chance this will win the race. I didn't know what to do with one, Nick. Like, I didn't know whether to go really long or, this is going to sound stupid, like I wasn't going to go middle. I was either going to be really hard against it or pro it and get it into sort of like 4-1 or something like that. And I ended up going the other way and going 8s. But it's sort of, the 63 weeks. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think anyone can have a strong conviction either way on the horse. It's got significant breathing issues. You talk to people in Toowoomba that hear it. It comes back after a gallop and you can hear it rattling.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned this to me before, and then it's got tongue tie off.
Yeah,
so that's got to be a question mark, doesn't it, man? There's got to be so jockey, map, breathing issues, gear changes. That's a lot of question marks. So that's why I had to be so strong on Hell of a Barty. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to push this one out,
so if you push that out, you've got to shorten the other one. So
I
look, go Wanji. Look, I just don't know. I don't think anyone knows. His only chance is I think the only chance they've got with him now, because of his issues, is just to hook him out the back, just let him cruise along and then try and just run home a really quick 600 with him and don't make the breathing a real issue. That's their best chance with it. And that's pretty well what he did first up. So, but no, I take your point there about Hell of a Barty. I think it's the obvious one.
Beauty. Race 10, 1,500 metres, and Jesus Christ, when I find a 20-1 shot, I'm not too keen on a race. Nick, what have you found here?
Well, you found something that I didn't find, because I couldn't find anything.
That's the point. Yeah.
I'm looking at it going, well, this is our last chance.
By the way, Nick said, I'm ready to start filming earlier, Gordo, and I texted him back, I'm on the last race. I was expecting you to text back, well, I'll see you in 2 hours then.
Well, I was almost going to text you back, so don't worry about it. Let's do it now. It's not a race for me. They're just an average type. We'll find one and put out a suggestion off the yard on the day. There's a horse that we followed there quite a bit, Colleagues, who's been really disappointing, and the other one that ran really well last week is 23, the Emergency Brave Mesa. It's won 2 out of 21. So no, there's better races to bet in tomorrow, and this certainly isn't one of them.
Yeah, well, the roughie, obviously, I had similar thoughts to you. I thought Evocateur was too short for the setup and the ability I think it has, and really short. If I don't think it's got it, like, unlike Hell of a Barty, which I do think does have ability, I'm less concerned about barrier one. I'm more concerned about barrier one for this horse, because I don't think it's got, like, it can't accelerate through gaps like I think Hell of a Barty might have the ability to do. So it could be a tricky map for it. Saying that, I mean, it's got to be A, but A, too short, not a bet. The roughie I found was this number 2, Clyde, which has just got nice little second up runs there, mate. 4 starts, 2 wins in a second. One of them was in a metropolitan Brisbane race. The other was obviously down south, because this has had some runs in New South Wales. Didn't mind that return to racing last start, man. Went back, sort of plugged home. But I thought with that history of improving second up, the lack of opposition, and some of the lines over the 2,000 metre races last preparation in Brisbane Metropolitan Racing. I know it was 2,000 metres, but you were checking about some all right horses there in Iowa and Applications and Stuck With You. I mean, by the way, they're not superstars, Nick, but look at what it's running against in this race. Look, I thought 20 to 1 was sort of interesting. And the other one I had a look at was Colleagues down the bottom, which I just thought at least you're still sort of like, you're still sort of lightly raced, 13 starts, 4-start this preparation, a little gear change there with tongue tie on. It was of interest, but I thought it was going to be longer than the prize.
I swore off Colleagues after its Sunshine Coast effort where it led and pulled and all that, and I thought it was a perfect setup. Half suspicious it's a bit of a non-trier, and also half suspicious it needs soft track.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, the figures there, or the
but if it put its best foot forward, I think it would win. It has the talent to race Colleagues. But yeah, look, as I've said a couple of times now, it's a pretty low confidence race for me. So let's hope we're well in front when we come to that.
Yeah, like Colleagues is one of those ones where you hate the race. You sort of half find it as just a horse of interest, and then you check the prices and you're like, oh shit, I was expecting to see 16s, not 8s.
Yeah, exactly.
Which would have made it an
it's
easy
a horse
sort of muck around play.
Almost always raced under the odds, Colleagues. People always find it. It always
one of those rappy horses that's always too well found.
And the stable, apart from the face, is not going well at the moment.
Okay, Nick, what are your best on the card?
Well, we've got a few here. I think the obvious one is in the first, Coretta.
And by the way, guys, me knowing Nick, if he is super keen on a horse, its price is best available right now is $1.90, then you should be even more aggressive pricing it, because you're not as aggressive in the sharp end of the market as I tend to be, Nick.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No, and I think if I probably sat down and did a review on that, it's probably to my detriment too, Gorb. And I sort of
when you're super keen, you should be happy to take the evens or the $1.90 or something like that.
It's the natural English upbringing of glass half empty and miserable glass. I want better than that, but it just looks clearly the obvious one to me. And I don't know, about probably 3 months ago, I said to you, when I swear off these distance races in Brisbane, but since then they've actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
And I like the ones when there's not 4 Waller runners in it, when it's just the one. And I think this horse is. I sort of half thought it would be in Sydney for this run. I said, that'll head to Sydney, but so I'm happy to play it. In race 5, I've got a 2-bet play there. That is Trifling and Weagle Tiger, the 2 and the 3. One's at $10. One's going to be around the $2.20 mark, and so that's an easy play for me there. I like Shooting for Goal on a 1x3 basis. I don't think we'll go too wrong there. Trying to check my race numbers here, good. And in the race following that, I will certainly be backing Extremist. And if Better Get Set has improved off the parade, I haven't bet yet on that race. One will be a bet to win, and the other will be to cover, depending on the parade. Yeah. But I do quite like the program.
Yeah, it's actually funny. It was a lot of work, but I think there's some good bets there if you put the work in, which is good. Cheers, Nick. Well, everybody, sign up to Nick's Mounting Yard Mail, which is absolutely sensational service. I see you even putting extra stuff in there, Nick, which is a review of the parade as well. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I suppose you're doing that work anyway. People don't realise that it's not just going out there and looking. You got to keep notes and do all that kind of stuff. And I love that stuff for a future reference point. I love the yard for a future reference point.
Well, I use it for myself, and I thought, look, it doesn't take long, so I'll just throw it in there. And just for the guys that get my stuff, there's one I like tomorrow at Doomben in the Twilight meeting, so I'll send that out. Oh, no, bugger it, I'll give it to everyone. It's into $2.
I was just about to bring up the race, and I was like, oh, God, I got to wait till
it was $2. It was $2.80 earlier. It's into $2 now. In race 7, number 12, Bazik, we were on midweek. It beat John Rambo pretty comfortably in a jump out, and then won midweek, and now goes. It was originally nommed for Saturday as well. They've gone the easy option here, Golan tomorrow. So I think it's
what race is that, Nick? Yeah,
race 7 at Lumen tomorrow over number 12 Bazik. It's into even money now, but there was a bit of 280 in that around earlier. But pretty keen it. But
I love that. I love the out wide ones. You know what I mean? Because people don't realise it's a lot easier out there, isn't it? I mean, Doom, it's hardly out wide, but Saturday is the big day where you're playing against the hardest other operators, while those other days you're playing against softer stuff.
That's where keeping your own information and the horses to follow and those sort of things that you really want to keep a track on. And when you go through the noms and you see, well, this one's in.
Yeah, paraded really well Saturday Metropolitan. Now it's back in grade and it's a leader. Oh my God!
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how John Rambo runs, because the jump out that they had, Bezique I thought was clearly superior to John Rambo. And with the jump outs, obviously you don't know who they are. But this was easy to find because the Gollan stable put it up for everyone. So.
Which is probably why it's firm so much.
I think it's super hard to beat tomorrow, but hopefully we can get that and get off to a good start for the weekend.
Beauty. Thanks, Nick. Good luck. Good punting, guys.
Cheers, Gord. Have a good one, everyone.